Section 2.3, Division of Fractions Application. How many full 5 1/2 inch sheets can be cut from 25 1/4 inch stock? Okay, so this is how much we have. This is the total of what we're dealing with here initially. It's our stock, and we're dividing it by, we're trying to cut it into sheets. Okay, cool. So we're trying to cut it into 5 1/2 sheets. Okay, now this is fine, but if you type this in your calculator like this, or you write it as a division, it'll just spit out the answer. That's beautiful. If not, you probably want to convert all of your mixed numbers into improper fractions. So you would say 25 times 4 plus 1. Okay? 25 times 4 is 100. 100 plus 1 is 101. So we would have 101, and we stick it right back over the old denominator of 4. Okay, so far so good. Now we go 5 multiplied by 2 plus 1. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. So we write over here 11 halves, okay? Now at that point, we can rewrite it as division. So 101 fourths over 11 halves is equal to 101 fourths divided by 11 halves, which is the same as 101 fourths multiplied by the reciprocal, which is 2 elevenths. 2 elevenths. So we have to flip that. The reciprocal is flipping the numerator and the denominator. Okay, fair enough. Now once we have fractions multiplied together, we just multiply straight across. So we, for instance, can you can cancel things out if you want to. I can divide a 2 and a 4 by 2, cancel that out. That'd be a little faster. Or you can just multiply everything through and you get a 202, and then 4 times 11, which is 44. And then at the end, then you would simplify. So that's also an option, right? So I can now I can divide by 2. So either before you multiply or after you multiply, you can divide, whichever is easier. Okay, now at this point I'm going to be dividing, so I'm going to say 101, and I'm dividing that by 22. So how many times does 22 go into 101? Well, it goes in there 4 times. So 4 times 22 is an 88. I didn't line that up very well, sorry. Which gives you a 13 remainder. 13 remainder. And since 22 can't go into 13, that's your remainder, 13 remainder. So what you end up with is 4 and 13 20-seconds. Let's move on to the next problem. So we say, if the pitch of a thread is 1/4 inch, how many threads are needed for the threaded section of a pipe to be 3 and 1/2 inches long? Okay, so we take the 3 and 1/2 inches, and we're going to divide it by the 1/44. All right, how many threads are needed? Okay. Okay, now if you have a calculator, no problem. Just type it in just the way I have it right there, or you can use the division sign instead. That's fine. Push enter, and it should simplify your fractions or do the calculation for you. If you type fractions as fractions in a scientific calculator, it will simplify them as fractions usually, okay? Now, having said that, if you want to do this long-handed, that's fine. You would say, I need to simplify the 3 and 1/2, so that's 3 times 2 plus 1, which 3 times 2 is 6, 6 plus 1 is 7. And then you rewrite it over the old denominator of 2. So that would give me a 7/2 divided by 1/44. Okay, so we rewrite that as 7/2 divided by 1/44. And then we rewrite that as 7/2 multiplied by 44 over 1. At this point, I can divide by 2 into both of these. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 44 divided by 2 is 22. 22 times 7 is 154. 1 times 1 is 1, and you end up with 154. How many threads? 154 threads. All right. A family room ceiling is to be taped and mudded. A 65 1/4 square foot area has already been done, and this represents 3/16 of the job. How large is the area of the finished ceiling? Okay, family room ceiling is to be taped and muddied. Okay, so we already did this. Yay! This represents 3/16 of the job. This requires a little bit of thinking about this, right? 3/16 is what has already been done. So the way you're going to do this is you're going to take the 65 1/4 and you're going to divide it by the 3/16. I realize that probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's use much smaller numbers to try to make this make a little more sense, right? So let's say that I don't know, half of let's say half of your money is $50. So $50 is half your money. Okay, that's one half your money. That's equal to one half. One way to figure out how much money you actually have is to double that, right? Which is really just saying 50 divided by one half, right? So again, if $50 represents half your money, then you know you must have $100 because half of $100 is equal to $50, right? So if I divide it by the one half, then I end up with 100, right? So I would say 50 over one half, which is what I already have. Then it would be 50 over one divided by one half. Then it would be 50. That looks like that's a 50, believe it or not, times 2 over 1, which would give you 100, basically. Anyways, that's my point. Okay, so I know this is probably not the most intuitive um, concept, but it does work. Okay, so anyways, if you have a calculator, you can just type it in this way, which is 65 and 1/4. If not, that's okay. You would say 65 times 4 plus 1. 65 times 4 is 260 plus 1, which would be 261. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to replace this with 261. It's understood to be over 1, and that is 3/16. So 261 over 1 over 3/16 is the same as saying 261 over 1 divided by 3/16. I'm writing all the steps over and over and over again. You obviously can see several opportunities where you can just skip straight to multiplication. Go for it, that's fine. You don't have to write every step out. The steps are there just to help you. But as you get better and better at this, you could probably skip a few steps, that's fine. But at the beginning, if you're making a lot of mistakes, you should probably write all the steps. It probably helps you. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna keep the 261, and instead of division, we're multiplying. Instead of dividing by 3/16, we're multiplying by 16/3. Okay, so it looks like I forgot to write my 4 here. I don't know why. Put that 4 right there. Okay, so the 4 is there, which means the 4 is there, which means the 4 is there, which means I can divide both the 16 by 4, which gives me 4, and the 4 by 4, which gives me 1, which means I'm down to, oh, and I can divide 261 by 3, which gives me 87, and 3 by 3, which gives me a 1, which means I'm good with 187 times 4. The autocorrect keeps on making my 4s look like 9s, I apologize. And then 1 times 1, which just goes away. So that simply gives me, what is that? 348, I think, over 1, which is just 348. Okay, so over a period of 2 3/4 years, 11/16 inch of a tread has worn off a tire. What was the average tread wear per year? Okay, so we're going to take the 11/16 and we're going to divide it by 2 3/4. So if you have a calculator, again, just type this in, push enter, it'll spit out a nice answer. If not, you're going to have to convert probably the mixed number right there into something else. So it's 2 times 4 plus 3. And then whatever the answer is, you're going to stick that over the original denominator of 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. And that is 11/4. So you're going to have now 11/16 over 11/4. All right, so 11/16 over 11/4 is the same as saying 11/16 divided by 11 over 4, which is the same as saying 11/16 multiplied by the reciprocal of 4 11ths, right? So the reciprocal is you flip the numerator and the denominator. Here I can divide by 4 and 16 by 4. That leaves me a 1 on top over here, and that leaves me a 4 on the bottom there. 11 will just cancel out, leaving you a 1 in both cases. 11 divided by 11 is a 1. 11 divided by 11 is 1. So that leaves you 1 times 1 on top, and that leaves you a 4 that I know you cannot read, sorry, a 4 times 1, which is 4. So that gives you 1/4. So the answer to the question of over the 2 3/4 years, if 11/16 inch of thread was worn off the tire, that means that 1/4 of an inch of thread was worn off per year. All right, so a carpenter must mount an electrical panel on an uneven surface. She must raise one corner of the panel 6 and 7/8 inch off the surface. If 5/16 inch washers are used as spacers, how many washers are needed to mount the panel? Okay, so we want to raise it a total of 6 and 7/8. And we're only going to be able to do that by 5/16 each at a time, so we want to know how many of those washers we're going to use, so we divide it by 5/16. Now, if you have a calculator, just plug it into the calculator, push enter, should be fine, no big deal. If not, probably want to convert your mixed numbers to improper fractions. So you're going to say 6 times 8 plus 7. 6 times 8 is 48. 48 plus 7 is 55. And we stick it over the old denominator of 8. And that gives me 55 eighths over 5/16. 55 eighths over 5/16 is the same as 55 eighths divided by 5/16, which would give you 55 eighths multiplied by 16 fifths. I can say 55 divided by 5 is 11, 5 divided by 5 is 1, 16 divided by 8 is 2, 8 divided by 8 is 1, which gives me a 22 over 1, which is just a 22. So I need 22 spacers apparently.